Lesson 13, volume of cylinders and triangular prisms. We have come to the last lesson of our geometry unit, and we only have 2 more things to learn in this lesson. So the first thing that we are going to learn is how to find the volume of a cylinder. Now, yesterday you looked at finding the volume of rectangular prisms, and you did length times width times height. However, for a cylinder, we don't really have a length or a width because we have a circle. Oops, didn't mean to move that. We have a circle at the bottom of our shape. So what you have to think about is what I mentioned yesterday, finding the area of the base or the bottom of the shape and then multiplying it by the height, because we have a base or a bottom of the shape and we also have a height. So what you do to figure this out is you use your formula. Find the area of the base shape, which is a circle in this case. So we've got our formula, area equals pi r squared. That's nothing new. We plug in what we know. So we end up with 3.14 times 2 times 2. 3.14 times 4. And you should come up with 12.56 centimeters squared. So that's the area of our base or the bottom circle. Now the last step for finding the volume of a cylinder is to take that measurement, 12.56, and multiply it by the height of the cylinder. And in this case, the height is 4 centimeters. So you simply multiply those together. You end up with 50.24 centimeters cubed. Remember, volume, you have to use centimeters or units cubed. And there you have it. That's your final volume for the cylinder. So much simpler than finding the surface area of a cylinder, really only 2 steps. You find the area of the circle or the circular base, and then you simply multiply it by the height. And don't get confused when you see a cylinder like this. The circle is still the base, even though it's not technically on the bottom of the shape, it's just flipped over. But think to yourself, the base shape for a cylinder is the circle. So you just find the area of the circle, and then you would multiply by the height, which is just the height flipped over on its side for this cylinder. All right, so that's simple enough. Let's move on to triangular prisms. For triangular prisms, the base of the shape is always going to be one of the triangular sides. Okay, so here's a triangular prism where I guess the base is not really on the bottom, but you have to think about the base as being the triangular side. So to find the volume of this triangular prism, you have to find the area of that base. So we know how to find area of triangles, half times base times height, or base times height divided by 2, your preference. I'll show this one though. So half of 6 times the height of the triangle, which is 4. Half of 6 gets us a 3. 3 times 4 gets us an area for that base, that triangle base, as 12 feet squared. So that's the area of that triangular base. Then all you have to do is multiply that by the height, which in this case, since this is kind of on its side, we've got the height right here. So the volume is, simply you take that area of the base, multiply it by the height. The volume is 108, feet cubed. Got to make sure I get those units right. So there's your volume for this triangular prism. Now what's really important to remember, I'm going to see if I can erase everything. Whoops, too far. Here we go. What's really important to remember is to not just think that the bottom of the shape, whatever is kind of, you can imagine resting on the bottom, is the base. Because if you were to find the area of the rectangle and then multiply by the height of 4, you'd actually be finding more area than you wanted. You'd be finding, well, let's see if I can draw this. I don't know if I can. You can kind of see that you'd actually be finding the volume of a rectangular prism, which we don't want to do. So big X over this. Don't do that. Okay, you have to find the area of the triangular base. So for a new one, for this one, you would be finding the area of this triangle and then multiplying by the height. So just think to yourself, when you see a triangular prism, you have to find the area of the triangle, then multiply by the height. So triangular base times the height, and then you shouldn't run into any problems. And that's it. There's the last lesson for our geometry unit. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Do some practicing, making sure that you are using units cubed as your answers.